I got a couple things for you. First of all, how the hell are you? Second of all, I got a trivia question for you. What's going on, Zargo? How are you feeling today? You got a little article out there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I'm excited for more football. This one, man, is I looked at a lot of different numbers on this one. I can just easily see this game going either way. Should be a great game, though, which is really on a Thursday night, all we can ask for.
Yeah, that Monday night game with the Titans and the Dolphins. Thank God there was the Seahawks and the Lions for that one, because that was brutal. That should have been a Thursday night game. But we got a good one tonight, Spread. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
Man, I'm excited to break down tonight's game. And, it's been tough to handicap the NFL this year, but it's definitely been exciting to watch. I think so. We talked about it last week. With the amount of injuries, I don't think that I can use the team's past performance as well. And we'll look into it tonight when we get more into Tampa Bay. They've looked fantastic, but with the number of people out, like, how much is their past performance really going to be predictable what we see tonight?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of plays that are in there for members right now. Keg just posted the game plan for tonight's game, giving you all the angles, the live betting spots, the pre-flop spots. He actually made quite a few bets there. So you could check that out as a member of Nuke the House, nukethehouse.com. Sign up for any plan. Type in the code Nuke NFL. You'll get a free week, and we will not charge you. You're going to have to re-up for that yourself. All right, guys, I want to do a little trivia. Then we're going to get into tonight's game. Kirk Cousins, last week, fourth fastest quarterback to ever throw for 40,000 yards. Took him 153 games. That tied him with Dan Marino. Imagine that. Dan Marino tied for fourth for 40,000 yards, fourth fastest. And you think about the time he played in the 80s, early 90s. It's absolutely amazing. But there are three quarterbacks that got to 40,000 yards quicker than Kirk Cousins. Can either of you name a quarterback or two on that list? Who got to 40K faster than Kirk Cousins? There's three of them.
Peyton Manning.
Okay, that's your guess. Peyton Manning. Who else?
Brett Favre.
Peyton Manning.
I would think it's Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers?
If we're going to choose a Green Bay Patrick, I'll go Rodgers.
What about
My
Brees?
third will be...
Who is that?
Brees. Drew Brees.
Brees is one of them. Brees is one.
Was that wrong on Manning? It's not Manning?
It's not Manning, Favre, or Rodgers. No.
No.
Wow. Drew Brees is one of them. And then you're not going to get the other two. You're going to be shocked by the other two. But Chad, if you want to throw it in there, any ideas?
Give me a decade.
Huh?
Is like Cam Newton?
Cam Newton. Did Cam Newton throw for 4,000 yards? Come on, dude. So here, who are the other two quarterbacks that got the 40,000 yards faster than Kirk Cousins? Drew Brees is one of them. There's two other ones sitting there, and we'll throw the answer out here in just a little bit. But Spread, you don't keep thinking. We got to break this game down, pal.
Okay.
Again, Falcons 2.5 point favorites at home. This morning they were 1.5 point favorites. And then we got a total of 43.5, which has really stayed stagnant. You'll see a 44 out there if you want to bet the under. But how are you attacking this game tonight with the Falcons hosting Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay 3-1, Falcons 2-2.
This is a tough one because, like I said, the injury situation really took me off of my idea that I really wanted to play Tampa Bay here. But with the number of injuries that they've had, I think it's tough. And we've seen that our defense play well so far this season. But kind of the same way as Cincinnati, when you lose those key players, your defense goes from pretty good to pretty bad pretty quickly. So that's my concern here with Tampa Bay. I still like that side a little more. Maybe it's just the anti-Kirk Cousins in me. I also do like Baker Mayfield a lot. And I don't really know how excited I am about this coaching change that took place down in Atlanta. I still like Todd Bowles a little more, as scary as that is to say. So I'm leaning towards the Tampa Bay side, but it's not a side that I absolutely love, Holden.
Okay. What do you got for us, Zargo? You put out a free article today on nukethehouse.com. Give us a play from there and hold the other one back. But how did you attack this game from a betting side, and what do you like?
Yeah, I mean, this one was tough because, I mean, like Spread said, injuries is a story in this one, and it's just made me overthink this one so much. Just going back and forth. Tampa Bay's injury list is so long, but ultimately, man, I kind of had to go with my gut. And I'm banking on these guys being professional athletes, being banged up, short rest, it's concerning, but you got to make a pick here. So I'm gonna stick with Tampa Bay in this one. Baker's looked stellar all season. He's been kind of utilizing all of his weapons. So even with the guys that are out being out, I think he still gets this job done. And I was taking Tampa Bay money line when it was at 1.5. You might spend the quarter to get 2.5, because 1.5 does nothing for me. 2.5, maybe. But I do think Tampa Bay ends up winning this game outright.
All right. So we got more to talk about in this game. I was in the chat with a few of the boys this morning in the NFL bets chat, and we were talking about Kate Otten, and Trey Palmer's hurt. McMillan's already out. So basically it's just Otten. It's Otten getting a ton of targets. It's Otten getting a ton of work. And I wonder, and really, if one of you wants to jump in, if you don't, I'll just keep talking to myself. But any thoughts on Cade Otten this evening up against the Atlanta Falcons?
I don't mind Cade Otten, but I don't know if it's necessarily the slam dunk that you think it is, Holden.
Okay.
I did see what you guys were talking about in the chat. I was also reading some other interesting stuff this year, and it was more from a fantasy perspective. But basically, if you've been following fantasy and best ball and you play in a home league, you know that the tight end position has not been good at all. You are much better going 0 tight end, which pisses me off because I want a bunch of elite tight end builds. But the guys that do the X's and O's, the reason that they believe that is with this new too high look. They know that these players the quarterbacks are not going down the field, which means the tight end underneath, where it used to be such this great relief safety valve option, is no longer there because the defenders feel more comfortable playing the underneath routes more aggressively because they know how they have the help out back, and they're also not as worried at getting burned through the long passes through the air. So just overall, it's been a trend this year in the league where tight ends have become devalued from a fantasy production standpoint. That's my only concern. The other thing is, who do I trust more to make a contested catch, Mike Evans or Cade Otten, right? I know that even if Evans is covered fairly well, I'd much rather give him an opportunity to get the ball. And I think the player that has the most opportunity to get open is Chris Godwin, just the way that he works, the way that he runs his routes. Finally, the Atlanta Falcons have been one of the worst teams in the league at creating pressure. It's not a surprise. I mean, most quarterbacks are this way, but Baker especially is the player that when you give him a little bit of time, he's proven to be completely accurate. I think that gives Chris Godwin a little more time to establish his routes. So I do understand where you're going, and I'm not going to fade Cade Otten. I'm still probably looking towards the top 2 receivers in my props a little more.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that too. I'm looking at Cade Otten though. What's he got, like 17? Let's just call him Cotton. That's a lot better name. He's got 13 catches on 17 targets in the last 2 weeks. So he's getting a lot of work. Now, the Falcons have given up some production. They're giving up almost 40 yards per game against tight ends. And Cotton's number's sitting there at 30.5. So I think that's an interesting way to attack this game. You were breaking this down in the article, Zargo. So you dug deep into this. Godwin, I think, is just set up. It seems like every week he's having his best season since 2019 when he was amazing, right? Mm-hmm. So now you add Otten to the mix. Mike Evans, who I thought had a great matchup last week. I don't know if it's going to be as good this week, but what are your thoughts on Otten and really the rest of the offense on the Tampa Bay side? And then I got some thoughts on the Atlanta side.
Yeah, man, this is when I was struggling to find props in, because you just look at the numbers and where the props are set. They're just like smack down the middle between like 0 and what they've been doing. So you look at someone like Cade Otten, and his number's sitting at 30, and he had 52 against the Eagles, 47 against the Denver, but then he did nothing against Washington and Detroit. And it's like you just go down the list, and that's how it is with all these guys. And so it's hard to find good value. You kind of just have to decide who you think is going to get the action. Almost got to play it like DFS style, because if they're getting to play, they're going to hit their props. But these numbers, I mean, they're just all over the place. Even you look at like the running back position, they have split carries like right down the middle between White and Irving. So it's hard to find value there because, those numbers, it's who's going to be more successful in the touches they get because they're sharing it. So I was really struggling to find value in that way. I think Otten is probably the best bet because Mike Evans is kind of the exception to that. He's been really all over the place, and at 59.5, like that's not good value, right? If you think he's going to have a great game, go get like 75 plus or something like that. But he's getting the targets, but he's, 94, 17, 42, 61. Like it's been all over the place with his yardage. So that's really not something I want to go after. Looking at props, I think you got to go Kate Otten or Baker Mayfield.
Okay. And then on the Atlanta side, it's interesting. So I dug up a whole bunch of stuff. And again, the injuries for the Bucs are big. No Luke Gotke, offensive, their left tackle. He's out. Antoine Winfield, big safety, out again. Vita Vea, nose tackle, played last week, probably shouldn't have. He's out now. So that'll affect the run defense here for Tampa Bay. But Kirk Cousins. So I read a couple of good breakdowns, guys that just watched the film and talked about it. And some of the notes I came up with, he can't reset his feet in the pocket, right? So he's still struggling with the Achilles. And that is hindering him from pushing the ball downfield and putting velocity on it. So I think that's something interesting to look at. And then the other thing that is fascinating, Kyle Pitts is the worst pass catcher in the league right now, according to ESPN analytics. So Kyle Pitts, we kind of given up on at this point. You also talked about Godwin, 117 of 189 of Baker Mayfield's passing yards and his only passing touchdown in week 2. This guy has just absolutely feasted, and he's getting rid of the ball a lot quicker because Godke's going to be out. But spread, let's go to the Atlanta side here. Back to Cousins, Pitts. Bijan's battling a hamstring. There are some things going against this offense right now, and I'm having some issues trying to find out who I like in the Atlanta offense. Are you finding anyone you like?
Yeah, with Vita Vea being out, you're going to have to like a combination of Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier. I think if Atlanta's going to have success tonight, they're going to have to start on the ground. You talked about Cousins' limitations, and Kyle Pitts at this point. I mean, what's the difference between him and Noah Fant? And I know I'm going back to fantasy a little bit, but Noah Fant's going in like round 15. Kyle Pitts is going in round 5. And Kyle Pitts has shown no ability to get open. We're still hanging on to a rookie year and some measurables and a combine coming out. But there's really nothing for me. If I'm Todd Bowles, I'm not worried about this guy at all. He hasn't shown an ability to get separation. He hasn't really shown an ability to get open. He doesn't really run crisp routes. So all he is really is a good athlete. And that's not going to cut it in the National Football League, where we know the skill level at these position players are so high. So if we're going to shut down this Falcons offense, the two players that we're going to be looking at are going to be Drake London and Bijan Robinson. I think London will be a lot easier to take away than Robinson. With Vea being out, it's a huge loss for that Tampa Bay run defense. If I'm looking at Atlanta Falcons props, I'm going to that backfield and starting with Bijan Robinson.
How about you? He is the most bet prop for a touchdown, by the way, at -125. How about you, Zargo?
Does that worry you?
Yeah, I'm not betting it. I posted this in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw what you wrote. You said beware these bets.
Yeah, every time Vegas needs something, they get it the majority of the time. So I will not be on a Bijan Robinson touchdown. Actually, you can bet against him, no touchdown at the same price.
Keg's got to get. Oh, I can't put him on the screen.
That's fine.
He said, "Are we sure that Vita Vea is confirmed out?" And I actually have the injuries pulled up right now, Holden, and I don't see him listed under out either.
Okay. Well, the Bucs.
That kind of takes away my handicap if that's not true. I didn't see him on the screen, but when you said he was out, I knew that he had problems.
The Bucs website had it earlier today, but I will confirm, and I'll have that back for you. So let's see.
Because I'm not as excited about Bijan Robinson if Vita Vea is in.
So Vita Vea is in.
No, I'd probably move away from that.
Okay. What do you got? Zargo, on Atlanta?
Yeah, it's interesting that he's on Bijan because, just with that I know he was cleared to play today, but that hamstring injury, I was kind of holding back on making any plays on Bijan. And look at these teams, both kind of have a mediocre pass defense, but Tampa Bay's got a half-decent run game, so I really think Atlanta's going to have to rely on throwing the ball. We kind of gone through it, right? Like, you're not going to bet Pitts, and there's really no Kirk doesn't really have a go-to guy like Baker does with Evans. So honestly, if I got to make a play on some Atlanta players, I'm probably going with the Kirk Cousins passing prop, because that's about the one thing on that offense that's been consistent, those numbers. And that's going to have to get this. If they want to win this game, that's how they're going to get it done, is through the air. And Tampa's got the 16th, right in the middle of the pack, pass defense in the league. So Kirk Cousins definitely has the opportunity to kind of take advantage of that. So if I got to make a play on an Atlanta player, which I really don't want to do, but if I got to, I'm probably taking over 228 for Kirk Cousins.
Good correction there, Keg, because he was back at practice yesterday. No official word that he's back, but yeah, he could be in there tonight. So thank you, Keg. Appreciate that. Hey, you are watching Thursday Night Thoughts. We're also going to break down 2 Sunday games that these guys like. We're not done with the Thursday night game quite yet. Plus, I got to get back to that trivia question. If you're watching us live right now or even recorded, hit the like button. We'd appreciate that. You can hit subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. You will get all of our shows when you turn on your notifications. And, of course, a couple more days to get in for the free trial, 1-week free trial. Go to nukethehouse.com. Sign up for any plan. We won't charge you. Just make sure you put in the code NUKENFL. All right, guys, back to the trivia question. And then some final thoughts on that game. We'll get to Sunday slate. Kirk Cousins, 4th fastest quarterback in history to throw for 40,000 yards. Dan Marino was also at 153 games just like him. Again, says so much about Dan Marino. Who are the other 3 that got there faster, though? Zargo, you said Drew Brees, and you're right. Can you guys think of either one of the other 2 that got there faster?
Is it
If you get it right, I feel like you probably researched it. Who?
No,
It's not Manning, it's not Favre, and it's not Rodgers.
Is it Stafford?
You totally researched that one. It is Matt Stafford. He's the fastest to ever get there. So that leaves one of them, Spread. That leaves one of them. And he has something to do with the rivalry that we're going to see tonight. The guy that got there faster than Drew Brees and faster than Kirk Cousins, but not as fast as Stafford. He has something to do with this rivalry. Anything you can think of.
Brady?
Close. No. Not really, though. Yeah. You're doing
Ryan.
this. Throw it in the chat. Let's see if anybody gets this. Don't research it either. So the fastest, Stafford, blank, Brees, and Cousins, the 4 fastest, along with Marino, who tied Cousins. We'll get back to. Oh, Tim did it. Matty Ice Cream.
Oh, I should have. Oh, good
Matty
boy.
Ice.
How did I forget him? Great job,
Matty
Tim.
Ice. So Stafford, the fastest to 40K at 147. Ryan 151, Brees 152, Cousins, Marino 153.
I said Ryan just because he said to do with this rivalry, and Brady was close, but I never, ever would have gotten there if I was.
Again, this doesn't tell me that much about quarterbacks today. It tells me everything about Dan Marino getting there.
I'm trying to, and people hear that he's the greatest quarterback to ever do it.
He's right there, man. He just didn't have a Super Bowl, and everybody keeps it against him. But like, if you put him on those Niners teams, forget about it.
Can you imagine the type of yards he'd have in today's game?
Yeah. He'd be throwing for 5,000 yards every year, every single year, every year. Hey, real quick, do you have a best bet on tonight's game spread? Or is it a pass for you and attack it live?
Under. But I do want to make a point.
Yeah.
I do want to make a point. As you see me really struggling to find these pregame plays.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to take advantage of the wisdom that's being given out on the Nuke the House live shows. For example, let's look at Cade Otton. I told you, and JC made a good point. Not sure if he's going to be involved, but from the stats that JC read, we can tell pretty early because he's either getting targeted or he's not. So if we see him early getting some targets, we know he's probably going to go over, and we don't even have to worry about if they inflate the line 5 yards because JC, like JC said, when he gets involved, he's doubling this pass prop. Vita Vea. We already don't even know if he's going to play and how effective he's going to be. Let's just say he goes out early or just doesn't look like the same normal self. Now you can jump on that Bijan thing, but you're going to be able to use, of course, Keg's the number 1 guy in the world with in this, but you use your own eyes. You're going to be able to see early. How does the offensive line look? Are they getting pushed against the Buccaneers defensive line? If they are, even if Bijan gets off to a slow start, you're going to be able to attack Bijan. Drake London, he's the key to the game, in my opinion. I think he's going to be fed. will he be as effective as Mike Evans on the other side? Because to me, Mike Evans is the guy that Drake London wants to be. To me, that's Drake London's ceiling. If you were doing those player comps, and I know are lazy and people don't like, right, where every 6'9" guy that dribbles is the next Magic Johnson, but Drake London should be patterning his game after Mike Evans. Is he going to be effective early? If so, Tampa Bay could be in for a long night. So what I'm trying to say is, well, there's a lot of uncertainty now. Use your eyes and listen to the experts here on Nuke the House, and you're going to be able to find ways to get involved in that. What I think the books have done a good job making these lines. You're going to be able to take advantage once this game kicks off.
Zargo, you put a couple plays out. Give me your best. Spread's best is under 43.5 tonight. What's yours?
Yeah, I just think ultimately, I think Baker's going to carve up this mediocre Atlanta pass defense. So while there are a lot of props to kind of go along with that, I mean, just go ahead and give me Tampa Bay money line. It's easy to root for. It's plus money. Go ahead and lock that in.
Very popular bet tonight, Zargo. A very popular bet, but probably because it's a coin flip game. And that's what you're looking at there. Hey, we'll be live tonight, me and Keg, 8:10 Eastern time, 8:10 Eastern time, NFL Live Line. We'll be live betting. It has been a very fun start to the season, a profitable start to the season. So Bucs at the Falcons, 8:10, Keg. You got to get there 5 minutes early, so we're on to talk about the game, and then we'll be there for kickoff as well. Do we like this is Mr. Don Hello Motherfuckers. All right. Do we like the Atlanta backup? That's Tyler Algier. You bet him in game. You got to see how much he's going to.
Let's just see if B is able to wreak havoc.
Not only that, let's see if Bijan is feeling okay. He was out. He was limited with hamstring.
Great point.
So.
Great point. So many things that we're going to see in the first quarter that it's going to make us be able to bet this game so much easier.
I also don't see a heavy run game from Atlanta coming.
Okay. All right. Very good. Let's go. By the way, Tim was like, not a big college football scene here. There is a big college football scene in our Discord. Members, Ray is up units this year, up, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 units already. So
great show on Saturday morning that he does too.
My college football picks are 100%.
How many have you made? One?
Yeah.
Yeah, you made one pick. Good job, buddy. Yeah,
I love great Saturday morning show. That's all I wanted to say, Holden. If you guys are not watching that, make sure you check it out.
Yeah, we got a live college football show leading into the day. Dan Moneyline Miller setting up Ray Gray Fox. Ray's our college guy there. And I know Fox and some other guys put up college plays too. So that's it. Oh, you meant in Massachusetts? Well, I don't know about Massachusetts. All I can do is tell you about Nuke the House. We do NFL, college football, MMA, golf. We're going to have NHL action with Zargo. We got NBA stuff with spread. So we're really building stuff up. Speaking of spread, 2 games you wanted to talk about, spread. I'm going to get to your first one, and then I'll get to Zargo's first one after that. And it's going to be a highly watched game because it's not only is it the Cowboys, it's the Steelers too. Pittsburgh hosting Dallas. And in this game, we got the Steelers, 2.5-point favorites. I mean, I saw 2 around. It's kind of vacillated between 2 and 2.5. Total up from 42 to 44. So the total's kind of shot up. What do you like in the Dallas-Pittsburgh game?
Yeah, we talked about injuries and making it tough to handicap. In this case, I do believe it's made the game easy to handicap because Micah Parsons makes scheming up that defense so much better. Mike Zimmer has had problems this year with a fully healthy Dallas offense, now missing DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. I think they're going to have problems. Pittsburgh's run game has been stagnant so far this year. I think this is going to be a great recipe. A Dallas team that's struggled to stop the run all season. So they're going to be able to get back on track and play the style of football that they like. Also, Justin Fields, don't count him out as one of the best runners in the league. And when you get into those third and short situations, he's almost deadly. One read and go. Either the guy's wide open or he's picking it up with his feet. On the other side of the ball, I still do think that the Steelers defense is the best in football. And I think the Dallas Cowboys team is fairly easy to scheme for. When you take away CeeDee Lamb, they don't have a second option. They're like a fighter, and Keg breaks down the MMA so well, but a fighter that only relies on his jab. And you take away the jab and you get out of the way of the jab and you don't worry about anything else coming. And I feel that's what Dak and CD are doing. They're jabbing constantly. They give them a bunch of targets. That's great for fantasy football. For betting the NFL, it's a lot easier, though, because we know Mike Tomlin and this defense can go ahead and scheme to stop one man, let Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson try to beat you. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. Steelers coming off a loss. Love that situation. Dallas only 9-10 against the spread in their last 19 on the road. They are Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are 7-4-1 in their last 12 against the NFC, and the Steelers are 3-1 against the spread in their last 4 primetime games. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to get back on the winning track.
Yeah, again, there's some issues. DeMarcus Lawrence is on IR. Parsons is hurt. The problem is the Steelers only have Najee Harris to run. He's kind of turned into a plotter. Warren's out, but Harris should get a ton of work. I wonder if there's a carries prop that we can bet there with Najee. And then on the other side, maybe Dak has to throw a ton because there's no running game for Dallas, and the Steelers stopped the run very well. So that's where I'm looking at that. All right, Zargo, let's go to your Sunday play here. The first one, you've got Buffalo and Houston, the Stephon Diggs Bowl. You excited about this one with Diggs facing his former team? 47.5 is the total, and the Bills are getting a point on the road. They're actually 1-point favorites. Now it flipped. This thing's going back and forth. You might as well hit the money line at this point. What do you got in the Buffalo-Houston game?
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, just touch on spreads pick. I really liked it, and something that didn't get noted. Dallas is the 6th worst rush defense in the league. So while Najee's been a little inconsistent, I think he's going to have a big game. He's a lot of running the ball. He's going to chew that clock. And so I think the under, per usual, is a great play in the Steelers game. But as for the Buffalo game, this line just makes no sense to me. Buffalo's looked stellar this season, and last week they just kind of ran into a Baltimore team that had something to prove. Losing their first 2, nearly having Dallas come back on them. They just kind of came out with a vengeance. You run that game back again this week, I'm betting Buffalo again. This team is just on it this season. Everyone kind of expected a bit of a regression, but I think they've looked great, and I think they got an easy win in front of them here. Perfect bounce back spot playing Houston, who's probably the worst 3-1 team in this league. Houston, they're winning games by edging out horrible teams. 2 of the teams they've beaten are in the top 3 worst defenses in the league, with Jacksonville and Indy. So just because they've been able to score on horrible teams, they think suddenly they can keep up with Buffalo. However, this line is a gift because Buffalo is one of the best defenses in the league. But with the over sitting at, 44, I believe, right around there, and it's being a 1-point spread.
47.5.
47, excuse me. Okay, 47.5 with a 1-point spread. That means the team totals are split right down the middle. Buffalo is going to blow them out. There's a chance. I don't like playing that total because Buffalo could cover by themselves. I'm not going with the under, but what makes it really easy is just go Buffalo over 24.5. That's plus money. Texas under 22.5. That's also plus money. Texans are in for reality check this week. I don't know what's going on and why they've looked so sloppy. I don't know if Stroud just I don't want to say he's having a sophomore slump because he's slinging the ball and he's
penalties,
good.
Man. They have
penalties are killing them, and their defense is a joke. So while he might get those yards up, he's been able to get those yards up. He's not doing that against Buffalo, and easy win for the Bills and easy props with those team totals.
All right. So against yards, let's see here. Who's the most penalized teams? This is against. So when you play the Bucs, it's 120 yards against. So actually the Bucs have not been playing teams that have been penalized very much. Houston, 326 penalty yards against. They are the 3rd most penalized team out there. Brutal. Absolutely brutal what we're seeing with them right now. Okay. So that's the next game. What is the best bet then from Buffalo, Houston?
If I got to give just one,
give
me over 24.5.
Over 24.5. I do want to let everybody know, and I got the injury report up right now. Khalil Shakir has not practiced this week. If you remember, he twisted his ankle in that game we were doing the live broadcast and against the Ravens. He has not been out on the field yet. And while you say, oh, Khalil Shakir, that's his guy. It's Dalton Kincaid, it's Khalil Shakir, and then it's a bunch of other dudes. So keep an eye on that. I think that could be important.
Let me jump in on some of that real quick,
please.
because you know that JC and I love to argue, and I'm kind of be arguing for argument's sake here. But first thing he said that I disagree with: if the Bills and the Ravens run it back, I would not bet the Bills, because I think the problem that the Bills have is they can't stop the run. I think their defense looks pretty good because they're fairly good against the pass. And in every single game up until that loss against Baltimore, they were playing with the lead, which means they didn't need to stop the run. Even against Arizona, you know, they got out early with the pass. It wasn't through running the ball here. Buffalo struggles against the run. That's why I think that Baltimore is going to be a tough matchup for them, and something to keep in mind if these teams do meet up in the playoffs. Fair. And secondly, why are you so down on Houston, JC? They're 3-1. Of course, their quarterback's going to have a little learn. I know we all crowned him as the MVP during the offseason because he had a great year, but it's not uncommon for a team or a quarterback to have problems in his second year, but they're getting wins. In spite of this, their only poor showing was that kind of let down spot against Minnesota. But we've talked about this Minnesota defense and how tough it can be. It even, stifled 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy, who's played excellent this season, was able to make a Super Bowl last season. So why are you so far down on Houston? What do they need to do? They need to be 4-0. They need a better margin of victory. What does Houston fail to do to impress you? And I don't think their defense is that bad. Why do you think their defense is so bad?
I'm down on Houston because, like I said, they're edging out inferior opponents. Indy and Jacksonville, two of the worst defenses.
But those are division games, and we always have to know there's close. Like, even when Washington sucks, they play the Eagles really good, and Washington will go in the game like 3-10, and the Eagles are 10-3, and it's a 1-point game. That's why most division games sit at 3 or 3.5. So I don't know if I downgrade them because their division opponents play them tough. I don't see why you're doing that.
I mean, either way, still they only beat Jacksonville by 4 and Indy by 2. So I hear what you're saying, but still, you gotta, So then, fine, you don't want to do that. They beat Chicago by 6. I mean, Chicago's kind of a question mark. So I mean,
okay, but to be fair, in that game, they got absolutely hosed by the referees, and they should have won that game by 20.
That's why you can go back and forth. And Chicago's defenses look good. They only allowed 13. I mean, sure. Yeah, we can go back and forth on that one. And then they just got embarrassed by the Vikings. So I'm just not seeing if this team is, a AFC contender like they were last year. I'm going to need to see some better wins. So, I mean, yeah, this would be their chance, right? If they come out and if they beat Buffalo, then by all means, I'll consider them a good team. But I don't care that it's division teams. I need to see something a little bit more impressive. And then as for the defense, I don't know if I had statistics on that one. I mean, like I said, partially it comes from.
Who's she going with?
Of course, she's going with the Texans.
I like that. Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
She's got to oppose me naturally. But yeah, I mean, allowing 24 to Jacksonville and allowing 29 to Indy is certainly not the sign of a stellar defense.
Okay, listen, you guys had your argument. I'm ready to move on. One of you is going to be right.
Final point. When they gave up 29 to Indy, they were in the prevent the whole second half. Holden, break the tie. Which team are you going with?
I just want you guys to continue to fight. I'm moving on to the next game.
We're going
also,
to.
Everybody needs to hit the like button. If you like Zargo, hit the like button. If you like Spread, hit the like button. If you don't like him, hit the like button. It doesn't matter. That's going to help us out. What's going to help you out? NukeTheHouse.com. If you haven't already signed up, you're not a member, we're giving you a free week. Take advantage of it. NukeTheHouse.com. Sign up for any package. We won't charge you. Use the code NukeNFL, NUKENFL. Dougie Payne going with Houston.
We'll
see. Houston's
I
most
actually
penalized
did bet Houston.
team.
I just don't think this game is as easy as JC thinks, and I think that he's kind of dismissing a Houston team that's played fairly well so far this season. I think. I mean, 3-1.
Spread. We got to move on, buddy. We could talk. If you and Zargo want to do a show on this game, I'm all for it. Let me know, and I'll send you the link, and you guys can sit here for an hour and debate it. But we got 2 other games on Sunday we got to talk about. I want to recap Thursday real quick.
Which is why you're a professional, Holden.
Shushy. Zip it. Zippy long stockings. I want you to talk about Arizona San Francisco Spread. This is a game here that is between basically 7 and 7.5. It's just been going back and forth there. It's a hearty total. It has been bet up from 50, let's see here, 49 to 50. So a couple days ago it was 49. Now we're seeing 50s around. What do you see in this game here? What are you doing?
All right, this is one, Holden, where I actually do trust my projections here. When I originally saw this line, I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity for Arizona to bounce back. We know they look really bad against Washington, and Washington's great, and it's awesome they put up all these points. I think where we really were surprised in Arizona's poor performance was on the offensive side of the football, where, you know, if we play daily fantasy, if we're playing overs on our props, Washington was a team that we're looking to be targeting all year. The secondary is porous. They don't get much of a pass rush, and the linebacking core is probably the best part of their defense, and it is average. So how did Arizona only put up 14 points? Well, let's dive in. When Kyler Murray is in his scripted drives, he's been playing fantastic. 5 of his TDs have been coming on these early scripts. Now, when we get into the second half, none of this is happening. Now, is this a failure of Petzing to make adjustments, or is it just teams catching on to what the Cardinals like to do and taking that away? One way or another, I don't know the cause, but I do know the effect. This team sucks in the second half, and now you're going against a San Francisco team that is finally getting back together. They started slow, Super Bowl hangover, off-season turmoil. Regardless, this is one of the most talented franchises in the NFL. Top to bottom, we see they have talent at every single position. With George Kittle back in there, this offense is starting to look better. And I know that everybody wanted to label Brock Purdy a system QB, but with all these injuries and him continuing to look impressive, I feel like he's really shown that, hey, you scouts missed. I'm a damn good player, and I can get it done regardless. So I actually like the San Francisco 49ers to put it on the Arizona Cardinals. I know that they look great for 3 quarters against the Buffalo Bills, start the season, and then they beat up the MASH unit that is the Los Angeles Rams. So no Alan Alda in San Francisco this week, Holden. Go ahead and give me the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, we got one more game.
Opponents, Brett. They're division rivals. It's going to be a close game.
Yeah, and it could be right. So we will see. Are you going to take the Cardinals? Because I think you like them.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm right there with you. When I first looked at these lines, that one jumped out to me. But you dig a little deeper, San Francisco has covered a double-digit spread their last 4 games against Arizona. So I'm not sure I can lay that 7.5, but I don't blame you for doing it.
All right, boys, we got one more game that you want to talk about, and that is Zargo's going to talk about. It's Carolina at the Bears, right? So, I got a bunch of stats here that don't matter, so I'm not even going to read it. But the Bears haven't covered 5 consecutive games as a favorite of 4 points or more since 1999. That matters nothing about this year. What does matter is that it's a 3.5 to 4 point spread, depending on where you want to shop it at. 3.5, 4 point favorites for the Bears at home against the Panthers with a 41 total. The one thing I was looking at from this game, though, and I know that Deontay's kind of banged up, and you really don't want to go after the Bears defense, but they are very, very soft in the middle. And QBs have had success in that intermediate range. So I wonder if Deontay Johnson can do that. And plus, we got a revenge game here. Andy Dalton, 6 games for the Bears in 2021. All right, probably not a revenge game. Nonetheless, I think that's the one place that the Panthers offense can succeed. Do you see the Panthers putting up a good fight against the Bears, Mr. Zargo?
I sure do. I like this line a lot more. We're open at 4.5. I liked it at 4. 3.5 and kind of pushing it. But overall, man, it's just we've seen inconsistent play from Chicago. We don't really know what to make of them. Their defense has been solid, but I mean, this Caleb kid, man, I mean, I got no clue what to make of him. I don't know if he's any good, and I just think the coming off that win, that big win against LA, I think people are kind of hype on them. They like this defense, and so I think Carolina is being a little mistreated here. Since Andy Dalton has taken over, this offense is doing heck of a lot more. It's very obvious to see. So I feel like it's a look ahead spot for the Bears. Carolina's, since Andy Dalton's taken over, I've said Carolina's the team you kind of got to look out for on the upset. Because they're, as I said on Monday show, they're looking like a competent team. They're looking like a professional football team. They're not the walkover they were week 1, 2. So definitely I grabbed Carolina plus 4.5, but I think the better play here is probably the over 41. Like I said, that offense has just been better. Carolina's defense is still pretty atrocious, so it definitely gives Caleb the chance to cook against them. So even if I have this completely wrong and they just blow out Carolina, I also see that 41 points being blown out. So like I said, good lean to Carolina, but over 41 in this game, too easy to pass up on.
All right, guys. So here's the best bets from our boys. Spread has under 43.5 tonight in the Bucs and Falcons. Zargo has the Tampa Bay money line. Everybody is on Bucky, saying that it's Bucky time. I love Bucky Irving too. I just want to let you know that White had between 70 and 74% of the snaps the first 3 weeks. Bucky had 31, 35, 32. Last week that changed. White went down to 58% of the snaps. Bucky went from 32 to 42. Don't forget that White had food poisoning. That's all I'm saying. I think Bucky is a better running back all around than White, but I'm not going to. This is the week I think we'll find out if Bucky Irving really has made some strides in that backfield. Okay. Everybody's on him. The Vegas doesn't want him to go over the number tonight. Everybody's hard for Bucky Irving. I'll say this. I'm not there yet. I'm going to need one more week. And I really, really like to see him. But if this week he pushes the 45% threshold, he hit 42 last week, that'll be when I'm on it. But I give a little bit of pause. Do love Kate Otten. I know Keg loves Baker Mayfield. So those are the things that we got going on. Those are the best bets. Under for spread tonight. Money line on Tampa Bay for Zargo. Keg and I will be live at 8:10 Eastern time. NFL Live Line, Thursday Night Football. It's our only free show that we'll be doing for NFL games, because for the rest, we're going to go first half free, paywall for the second half when it's witching hour. But tonight, a totally free show. Zargo, thanks for hanging out with us today. I appreciate that. And Mr. Spread, always good to see you. Thank you for hanging out with us as well. Now I'm going to put the graphic up, which means you guys got to be quiet, zip it, and we're going to get out of here. And I'll see everybody tonight at 8:10 Eastern time. Let's go Nuke the house.